There's someone in your life right now who says they trust you. They answer your calls. They show up when you invite them. They laugh at your jokes, and they tell you things, personal things they probably don't share with most people. And if someone asked them, "Do you trust this person?" they would say yes without hesitation. But here's what you need to sit with for a moment. Saying, "I trust you," and actually feeling safe around you are two completely different things. And most people never realize the difference until it's too late. Until someone they love has already built an invisible wall between them. A wall you can't see. A wall they might not even know they built. What if the person who trusts you the most, the one you feel closest to, has never actually felt fully safe with you? Not because you're a bad person. Not because you've done something terrible. But because of small, invisible signals you send without even realizing it. Signals that tell their nervous system, "Be careful here. Don't go too deep, hold something back." This is not about betrayal. This is not about lying or manipulation. This is about something far more subtle, far more common, and honestly, far more painful. Because it means you could be doing everything right, loving someone, showing up, being loyal, and still, something in the way you react, the way you respond, the way your face shifts in a fraction of a second, is telling the other person that full honesty isn't quite safe here. Before we go deeper into this, and trust me, what's coming next will change the way you see almost every close relationship in your life. I need to ask you something. If this kind of content makes you think, if it makes you pause and reflect, take a second right now, subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and stay until the end. Because what I'm about to explain is something most people go their entire lives without understanding. And understanding it can genuinely change everything. Now, let's talk about what emotional safety actually means, because most people get it wrong. We tend to think emotional safety is about trust. If I trust someone, I feel safe. If they trust me, they feel safe. Simple. But that's not how it works. Trust is a decision. Safety is a sensation. Trust lives in your mind. Safety lives in your body. You can decide to trust someone and still feel your chest tighten when they walk into the room. You can believe someone loves you and still choose your words carefully before you speak around them. You can know, logically, that a person would never hurt you, and still feel a quiet tension every time you're about to say something vulnerable. That tension, that slight hesitation, that micro moment where you almost say something honest but then pull back and say something safer instead. That is the absence of emotional safety. And it doesn't happen because of big, dramatic events. It happens because of patterns. Tiny, repeated patterns that most people never notice in themselves. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone starts telling you about something that upset them during their day. Nothing huge. Maybe a coworker said something dismissive, or they felt overlooked in a meeting. And as they're telling you, you respond with something like, "Oh, that's not a big deal. Don't let it get to you." Now, you said that with love. You said it because you genuinely wanted them to feel better. But what their nervous system just registered is something very different. What it registered is, "My feelings were too much. I need to scale down." This person doesn't want the full version of what I feel, and they probably won't say anything about it. They'll just nod, maybe smile, and move on. But something inside them just closed, just a little. And if that happens enough times, that small closing becomes a permanent posture. They will still love you. They will still trust you. But they will stop bringing you the unfiltered version of who they are. This is the part that most people miss entirely. Emotional safety is not created by what you say. It's created by what happens in your face, your body, your tone, your timing, in the 2 seconds after someone says something vulnerable. 2 seconds. That's all it takes. Researchers in interpersonal neurobiology call this the micro-response window. It's the moment right after someone shares something real, and your face, your breath, your posture sends a signal back. And that signal either says, "I'm here, I can hold this," or it says, "This is uncomfortable, let's move past it." And the person reading that signal isn't doing it consciously. Their brain is doing it for them, automatically, below the level of awareness. It's the same system that helped our ancestors detect danger. It doesn't analyze words, it reads faces, tones, body shifts, and it makes a decision in milliseconds, safe or not safe. So you might say all the right things. You might say, "I'm here for you, you can tell me anything, I'll never judge you." But if your eyes look away for half a second when they start to cry, if your jaw tightens slightly when they bring up something that challenges you, If your breathing changes when they express anger, their nervous system picks it up. And it remembers. Here's where this gets even deeper. Over time, these microsignals create what psychologists call an emotional map. The people closest to you are constantly, unconsciously mapping out what's safe to bring to you and what's not. They learn, without ever being told, which emotions you can handle and which ones make you uncomfortable. They learn when you shut down, when you get defensive, when you change the subject, when your warmth subtly disappears, and they adjust. They start editing themselves around you. Not because they don't love you, but because their system has learned that certain parts of who they are don't land well in your presence. And this is the tragedy of it. You'll never know. You'll never know because they'll still be there. They'll still show up. They'll still say I love you. But there will be rooms inside them you're never invited into. Thoughts they'll never share with you. Fears they'll carry alone because at some point their body decided that you weren't the person who could hold those things. Now I want you to think about this for a moment and be honest with yourself. Have you ever noticed someone close to you starting to say something and then stopping? Have you ever seen that little shift where their mouth opens slightly, like they're about to go somewhere real, and then they smile and say, never mind, it's nothing. That never mind is not nothing. That never mind is the sound of a door closing. It's the moment they decided in a fraction of a second that what they were about to say wasn't safe enough to bring to you. Not because of who you are, but because of what they've learned to expect from your responses. And I want to be transparent with you here for a second. Even though this narration uses an AI voice, I'm a real person behind this. My name is Fernando, and I'm genuinely grateful that you're here watching this. I hope you and everyone you love are eternally blessed. Now let me continue, because what comes next matters even more. There's a concept in attachment research that I think explains this better than anything else. It's called felt security, not stated security, not assumed security, but felt security. It's the difference between knowing someone is on your side and actually feeling it in your body when you're sitting next to them. And felt security is not built through grand gestures. It's not built by saying, I'd do anything for you. It's built in the ordinary, boring, unremarkable moments. The way you listen when nothing dramatic is happening. The way you respond to a small complaint. The way your face looks when someone interrupts your focus to tell you about their day. Those moments are where safety is either built or quietly destroyed. Let me tell you something that might be uncomfortable to hear. Some of the most emotionally unavailable people are also some of the most loving. They love deeply. They care intensely. They would sacrifice for the people they love without thinking twice. But they are difficult to feel safe with because their emotional responses are unpredictable. Sometimes they're warm and open. Other times they're distant or reactive. Sometimes a small comment rolls off them. Other times the same comment triggers frustration or withdrawal. And that inconsistency, that unpredictability, is one of the single biggest destroyers of emotional safety. Because safety requires predictability. Your nervous system cannot relax around someone it can't predict. It doesn't matter how much love is there. If the person you're with can shift from warm to cold without warning, your body stays on alert. It watches. It protects. And the way it protects is by keeping the deepest, most vulnerable parts of you hidden. Think about that. The person you love might be hiding their deepest self from you. Not because you failed them in some obvious way, but because your emotional rhythm is something their body hasn't learned to fully trust. And you have no idea it's happening because on the surface everything looks fine. Now here's the part that changes things. Here's what actually shifts this dynamic. It's not about becoming perfect. It's not about never reacting, never getting frustrated, never having a bad day. It's about what you do in the moment after. Repair. That's the word that matters most in any close relationship. Repair. When you react badly, when you shut down, when your tone comes out sharper than you meant, what happens next is what defines the relationship. If you pretend it didn't happen, the other person's system registers it and files it away. Another data point. Another reason to hold back. But if you come back, even hours later, and say, hey, I think I reacted in a way that didn't feel good earlier. I want you to know that wasn't about you. Something extraordinary happens. Their nervous system receives a new signal. It says this person notices. This person cares about how they land on me. This person is safe, not because they're perfect, but because they come back. That is the difference. Safe people are not people who never hurt you. Safe people are people who notice when they've hurt you and choose to come back and make it right. Consistently, predictably, without being asked. And here's the other side of this that nobody talks about. Sometimes you're the one who doesn't feel safe, and you don't even realize it. Sometimes you're the one editing yourself, shrinking your truth, holding back the real thing you want to say. And you've been doing it for so long that it feels normal. It feels like that's just how relationships work. But it's not. That quiet editing, that constant adjusting of yourself to fit what you think the other person can handle, that is not intimacy, that is performance. And it's exhausting. And it's lonely. And it happens in relationships that look perfectly fine from the outside. So if you're watching this and something in you is recognizing a pattern, whether it's something you do to others or something you felt done to you, I want you to understand something important. This is not a flaw. This is not a diagnosis. This is a pattern that was learned, which means it can be unlearned. You learned at some point, probably very early, what was safe to express and what wasn't. You learned which emotions were welcome and which ones made people pull away. And you've been carrying that map ever since, applying it to every relationship, even the ones where it no longer fits. The work, the real work, is not about fixing yourself. It's about updating the map. It's about learning to notice when you're closing a door that someone is trying to walk through. It's about catching yourself in that 2-second window after someone says something vulnerable and choosing consciously to stay open instead of deflecting, minimizing, or turning away. It's about saying, "Tell me more," instead of "Don't worry about it." It's about letting your face show that you're present instead of letting your discomfort show that you want the moment to pass. And maybe, just maybe, it's about going to that person in your life. The one who says they trust you, the one who shows up and laughs and stays, and asking them a question you've never asked before. Not "Do you trust me?" but "Do you feel safe with me? Do you feel like you can bring me the messy, complicated, unfiltered version of what you feel, without worrying about how I'll respond?" And then, when they answer, not defending yourself, not explaining your intentions, just listening, just being there, just proving in that very moment that you can hold what they bring you. Because that, more than any word you could ever say, is what makes someone feel safe, not your love, not your loyalty, not your promises, your presence. The quiet, steady, predictable presence that says no matter what you show me, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going to make you regret being honest. That's what changes everything. That's the piece most people never see, and now you see it. What you do with it from here, that's up to you.